What's going on? Hey, it's Brother Sherman Cox. Wanted to talk about the three basic modes of harmonica playing. Three basic modes. A lot of people out there teaching you how to play harmonica, and one thing that you need to keep in mind is that there are a number of ways of doing it and all that kind of carrying on, but also there are three basic modes or approaches to it. Number one is harp alone. Harp alone. Hey, this is where you just playing by yourself. Harp alone. The second, harp supporting. And third, so you got harp supporting, and third is harp leading. Now, the first and the third are a lot alike, y'all. You up there, you are in a prominent position. The question is, are you up there by yourself or are you up there with somebody else? Somebody else, or perhaps background tapes. You either up there by yourself or you're up there with somebody else, or by yourself or up there with somebody else, whether it's a background tape or whatever. So these are your three basic approaches to playing. Now, a lot of the training that I see, you see a lot of the tabs and that kind of thing comes down to really you getting up there and you playing a solo in church, or you playing a solo somewhere else, or that kind of thing. You get a lot of training. Hey, I want to play this song. Well, here are the notes of that song. And that gives you the harp leading. However, there are other approaches that are going to be important. Hey, somebody comes and they says, hey, I want you to play in the band. I want you to play in the band. Well, unless you lead in the band, they probably aren't wanting you to get up there and play all of the solos or all of the lead. No, you're going to spend some time in this harp supporting role where you're actually helping to support. You're playing a background. You're part of the rhythm section. You're doing those kinds of modes, those kinds of things that are going to help the music. Finally, there is harp alone. Now, as I said before, there's a lot in common between the harp alone and the harp leading. But there is, but really some of these things that you learn in harp alone, you can present in harp supporting. So what am I talking about? Well, you going and you're about to play, and I got a D flat here, and you're gonna go up there and play alone. So one thing you could do is something along the lines of what am I doing here? I am playing by myself, but I'm also doing other things that others in the band might normally do. So I'm not just doing that. I'm also playing that background. One of the nice things about the harp, with the harmonica, which is different from other instruments get up there and they can play one note, but we can do more than one note. We're like a guitar or piano. Now, we aren't as flexible in the chords that we can play as those other instruments, as guitar and piano. But what's nice is that we can play more than one note. Whether it's a chord or whether it's just a double stop. little bit of that dirt in there, a little bit of that other note up in there. These are some of the things that you learn when you learning how to play harp alone. You're giving some of that percussive, you putting that percussive game in there. And that can actually help you if you doing the harp supporting, because you're actually supporting yourself there, but you can support somebody else doing some of the same things as long as you keep that volume down when somebody's singing. At any rate, harp leading. I guess before I get off of harp alone, another way, sometimes it can be haunting to just get up there and play the melody. You know, just play with no accompaniment. As you can see, some of my bends ain't where they need to be for me to pull that off. But as I said before, you probably want to take advantage of what we can do on the harp. Harp leading. This is what most of what we're doing when we get up there and we play. And I ain't got no background, but I would normally play a background, and then you're playing with it and you're doing that kind of a thing. But one thing you can do is add in some of what you did in harp alone down there, especially when you're improvising on some of the things. So hey, add in some of that stuff. Really, I guess when we're talking about harp alone, we talking about you taking care of the melody as well as the rhythm in an equal approach. So you're putting in that rhythm and you're putting in the melody. Harp leading, somebody else is taking care of the rhythm. You are largely taking care of the melody. So you definitely want to emphasize that melody. Don't lose the melody when you're doing all your improvisation and all that kind of carrying on. But your emphasis is on the melody. But you definitely want to put in some of that stuff that you can do on the harp that other folk can't do. Now, the supporting is where you are just the rhythm. Somebody else is going to do the melody largely. So what am I talking about? As I said before, harp alone, you do both rhythm and melody. Harp leading, you are taking care of the melody. Somebody else is taking care of the rhythm. And I guess I also did harp alone where you take care of the melody and nobody doing the rhythm. But that's something you ain't going to do a lot. And then harp supporting is where you take care of the rhythm, somebody else taking care of the melody. What am I talking about? Well, I'm just going to sing with myself on the harp, trying to let you see. So let's see. Amazing grave, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. See, I'm playing in the holes there. Some things that you can do when you ain't singing and somebody else is singing is you can play like chords behind somebody, or you know. You know, just do some stuff behind folk. Hey, these are your three basic modes. And the reason why I'm talking about this is I wish somebody would have helped me with this earlier in the game, hey, I ain't but an intermediate player, but this is definitely would have helped me early is that you've got three basic approaches to the harmonica. And the first approach, harp alone, is something that I really didn't spend a lot of time on. Part of it is not having the ability to, but part also there was not an intellectual knowledge of it. And this is an important component. In some ways, it's the basis of everything because you're doing melody and rhythm. Melody and rhythm. Let me put that down there. Melody and rhythm. The melody section and the rhythm section. You a solo instrument and you're the rhythm section. Harp supporting here, you are basically just the rhythm section. Stay out of the way. Let other folk take care. Let the soloist take care. You are basically the rhythm section. And then finally, harp leading, you are the melody alone. That is your job. And yeah, you're doing other stuff, but your job is to show that melody, present that melody, help people to understand that melody. These are your three basic modes. And the reason why I talked about it is because you need training in all three of these modes. As I said before, somebody asks you to join a band, they're going to be talking about a lot of this. Harp supporting, they're talking about a lot of that. A little bit of harp leading probably. Maybe you can do some of that as well. If you lead in the band, then maybe you're going to do some more of that. But you also going to do some harp supporting. This is an important component of joining any band. If you going to play solos in church, play solos somewhere else, you going to be doing a lot of this harp leading. People need to know what song you playing. And so you want to emphasize that melody as you do your improvisations. And finally, at the root, what we trying to learn, even if you don't get up there and ever do it with just you and your harp, even if you don't ever do it, at the base is harp alone. Learn that game. Begin to learn that game. Begin to learn how you can get up there and just do it with just your harp. Hopefully that's helpful to you. Three basic modes. Till next time, this is Brother Sherman Cox. It's your gospel harp, y'all.